on 95.3 FM in Windhoek, Desert Radio. The bold.
Well, the time on the clock is 7:31, and we are joined in studio by Dr. Jane Olwoch, the CEO of the Southern African Science Service Center for Climate Change and Adaptive Land Management, that is SASSCAL. Now, her roles at the research institution include a host of things. You are a busy woman.
Very
she does strategy development and implementation, ensuring alignment with changing trends and needs, stakeholder management, resource mobilization, finance management, human resource management, among a host of things. Dr. Jane, good morning. How are you?
Good morning, and I'm excited to be here and to celebrate with you and the listeners. Thank you.
Is it an early start to your day, or is this the regular?
It is the regular, but our weeks have been very busy for quite some time, so we need more sleep.
Definitely.
Yeah, definitely. I would agree with that.
And we will get into talking about some of the work of SASSCAL. But before we do that, we just want to get to know you a little bit on a personal level. We know the work that you do, but who is the woman behind the work? Just start us off with telling us about yourself, your origin story, how and where you grew up.
Okay, that is really interesting. I describe myself as an African woman because my origin is Rwanda. So I am Rwandese. And I have grown up and born in Uganda. And this was a result of the first civil war in Rwanda in 1959. And my parents left and they were refugees in Uganda. So I was born there. I was educated there. And I also worked in Kenya for quite some time. And then we moved to South Africa at the time, me and my husband, because South Africa was opening up in 1991. And they were looking for doctors. My husband is a doctor, so we came to South Africa. And then I did all my master's and my PhD and everything else. And really my adult career grew up from there. And I think what really made me where I am now is the degree I did in PhD in climate change. And I worked at University of Pretoria. I was the managing director of the Earth Observation in South Africa National Space Agency. And at that time, I was really doing a lot of things, from human settlement, from water bodies, monitoring everything with satellites. And I kind of missed climate change, which was my study. So when this position for SASSCAL came in, I was really excited and I applied. And I'm here in Namibia and I'm enjoying it.
Now, I'm very curious, actually, with environmental related issues. Was that always an interest for you, the environment, as you were growing up? That was an interest?
Yes, I didn't know at the time that it is called environmental science, or would I ever know anything about climate change. But when I was growing up, we grew up in a livestock kind of semi-nomadic family. And we had a lot of cattle. The African nomads keep a lot of cattle. And one of the the biggest problem we have were ticks and tick-borne diseases. And then because Uganda is also a warm country, we also had a lot of malaria. But then as young, I realized that malaria and tick-borne diseases were coming in certain months of the year and not in others. So I was really attracted to this relationship between rainfall and diseases and also people, because our livelihood depended on the cattle and cattle keeping. But at the time, I knew that that rainfall or climate impacted on what we do as human beings. But then when I grew up and studied climate change, I realized that we as human beings, we're actually now impacting on the climate system. Then that was really interesting for me. It's that interrelationships, interdependencies between people and the environment that was really a big focus for me. And that was my passion. And later on, of course, I knew it's environmental science, it's climate change, it's all these things we are talking about, greenhouse gases and now green hydrogen.
And now you are one of the women. You are a woman running one of the biggest science institutions in the Southern African development community. Talk to us a little bit about that landscape and how it feels to be in that position.
It's all very exciting, mainly because I do what I love. And when you found your passion and you're lucky to have a job that really helps you to express and develop and do everything you want to do, it becomes very, very easy. And it's also, of course, not easy for any woman in this position. But first of all, I just want to state that there's so many powerful and strong men that have shaped my life. And that is the fact. But once in a while, you find those that are maybe not very capable, or they have insecurities, or they've grown up in culture that oppress women. And those are very difficult to tackle. But then it's not up to any woman in that situation to try to tackle, because it takes the whole community to actually do it. And I must say that our governments and many institutions have got very strong gender policies to balance out. But once in a while, you'll meet someone like this. And I just want women, young women out there to say, just do your thing and focus on what you do, and tell the truth. One thing that helps me as a person is that people sometimes they tell me I'm very blunt, because I do tell the truth. And I've also realized that when you tell the truth, you do not have to memorize things. And people won't put you down because you've told the truth, you've done things in the right way. You have to be fair, you have to be objective. And it's tough, but there is a way that we must manage this thing.
Speaking on that, seeing that, many fields across the world are, or used to be men-dominated, right? And things are changing, of course, and some slower than others. But specifically your field, in the science and research field, how do you think that is faring? Currently, do you think there are, more women, more young girls finding their way into this particular field?
There are more than before, but there are still challenges that are. And one of the study I like quoting is a study of the I think it's a L'Oreal study on women in science that found out that when girls and boys are in primary school, actually the numbers are the same. But as soon as they go up to high school, the numbers of girls start dropping down. And as soon as you go to university, it is even worse. And when you talk about PhD and women getting awards of science and everything else, it's really little. And also women who are able and capable to head institutions like SASSCAL and others, the numbers are really small to choose from. And that, again, is just the foundation for the very few women in leading science institutions or in big other organizations. So this study says that intervention have started very early at primary school, so that we look at the issues that prevent women from moving up, because when we've gone post masters and PhD, the numbers are so tiny and it's difficult to balance. But generally, it is increasing and it's being tackled, and the policies and just the awareness of people, I think, is really taking the situation to a better place.
Now, from my end, I take a keen interest in environmental issues. I would call myself an environmental reporter if I had to say I have a beat, right? But this is something that really I only fostered later on in my life, as I started to realize, like you did, the interrelationship between the environment and our existence as human beings. So I'm curious as to, some of the challenges faced by young people and countries in the region in prioritizing environmental sciences, environmental issues, and scientific research skills. What are the challenges that are keeping our young people from this field of study as an interest?
So the challenges faced by young people to go into the areas of environment and climate change, I think they are the same problems that hinder every other young person in Africa to venture into interested field. Environment and climate change are really interesting, and everybody understands, especially now, this interconnection, interdependence, and to say that if you don't know tackle climate change, for example, you won't be able to tackle the economy, employment, and other things. However, there are challenges. That one of the biggest challenges I think, is the lack or less awareness of the fact that environment is part and parcel of human existence and human development. And yet, we know that all our economies were developed along the environmental resources. Then, of course, you have the issues of the curriculum, which I think still needs a lot of strengthening to start very early. And then you have issues of the economy, weak economies, and poverty, and unemployment, and so many other things that really misdirect many governmental efforts to focus on climate change, because you think poverty is a big thing, or unemployment, but actually it's all related to the economic resources that we are losing because of environmental resources. You know, the issues of water in our countries, for example, the issues of agriculture and food security now because of climate change. It's very strange and really serious that many countries now are into food insecure situation. And yet Africa really has all the environmental conditions to be able to be self-sufficient and export food. So if you understand this environment deeply, and I think that is where we come in, to really make sure that we talk about it. And we're given a chance like this today to say that if we don't tackle environment, we do not tackle ourselves. We do not have any sustainable development and sustenance of the human race itself.
Yeah. Now, I wanted to talk a bit about SASSCAL, right? And just for the listeners out there to get a bit of context, SASSCAL is a joint initiative of Angola, Botswana, Namibia, South Africa, Zambia, and Germany. And the organization was established in response to the challenges of global change to conduct research and adaptation to climate change, sustainable land management, provide products, services, and information for decision making. Now, we're also aware that SASSCAL celebrated its 10th anniversary this week. Reflecting on its journey of excellence for every positive step taken towards climate change and land management to bring positive change to the global challenges for sustainable development. Now, Dr. Jane, what would you say have been the milestones for SASSCAL in the past 10 years in their assigned role?
In my opinion, because I like young people, I like capacity building, I think the biggest milestone that I can be proud of is the capacity development. So when we get the funding from the Federal Ministry of Education and Research, we have supported maybe 400 students in the region, in masters, in PhDs, and also in undergraduate, because we believe the knowledge economy is what many of our African countries we need. We need this new generation of people that are focusing on new knowledge, new technology, innovation, information technology. That this is really where I think we have done a lot. But also, of course, so many outputs on research. We have our automatic weather stations that are giving people data daily. There's so much that I can speak about. But I'm also very excited and happy to see that SASSCAL is given a chance to get involved into green hydrogen. When you talk about climate change, energy security, we must speak about emission-free energy and this green hydrogen. And of course, Namibia is taking the first step in the African continent to actually embrace this, and SASSCAL is part of it. So I'm really, really happy about the achievements, but more importantly, as you said, SASSCAL is all about partnerships. Partnership between African countries, especially SADC and German. We work very closely with so many ambassadors that are here in Namibia representing German, Angola, Botswana, and all these countries. And we have the communities that are really supportive and behind what we're doing. So partnerships are key, especially in environmental protection, in climate change. You cannot do it alone. So that's something I'm proud of.
In addition to Namibia's push for green hydrogen, how would you say Namibia and the region generally is just faring in terms of climate change research and mitigation of climate change generally?
Well, first of all, there is this perception, and it is actually correct, that we do not emit enough carbon emissions to actually be asked to mitigate. However, because our vulnerability, because any small impact of climate change impacts us in Africa more than any other continent. So we must take part. Therefore, Namibia has done a lot really in mitigating. I know the plan for renewable energy resources and just the practical embracing this green hydrogen is a message for us that Namibia is on board. And this is one area that Africa was not really interested in trying to reduce emissions. But this is a statement that we are ready and we can do it. And because of the enormous resources of solar, of wind, and we're also going to leverage on seawater to desalinate it. So we also have water therefore. So I would really say that a lot has been done, a lot has to be done. We need to make sure as SASSCAL to do enough research to say Namibia is actually in the right way. And one of the way we've done it is this production of the Atlas of green hydrogen generation potential in SADC, including Namibia, where we want to tell our politicians and businesses that this is the situation. You can go this way or that way. So I am very comfortable that we are on the right track.
And speaking about that, especially the plans towards green hydrogen, right? Talk to us a little bit about the work that SASSCAL is doing with the government, or the data or information or research that SASSCAL is providing to the government when it comes to, mitigating climate change or combating climate change in the region. You can even speak beyond just the plans for green hydrogen. Just what does that cooperation between SASSCAL and the government look like?
Okay, so SASSCAL cooperates with the government of Namibia in the same framework we cooperate with the other SADC countries, Angola, Botswana, South Africa, Zambia. And we are very proud of the automatic weather stations that I have mentioned. SASSCAL has got a network of about 160 automatic weather stations that they give data on real-time basis. Namibia also has their own stations. Apart from that, we also have worked very closely with Namibia in the past, SASSCAL 1, where we had projects that were looking at agriculture and food security. I think they have developed some new seeds and they've developed some manures. They've taken also a lot of work in new genetic materials. We have done some work on forests. We have advisory reports. And really, we have worked very closely with them. And of course, I think it's important for me to mention that our line ministry is the Ministry of Agriculture, Water and Land Reform, and the cooperation have been amazing. Namibia, again, was the first country to ratify SASSCAL treaty, because now we are turning international, and we have a treaty that was signed by other countries, but Namibia has recently ratified, really recognizing our work and ensuring that we are part and parcel of Namibia debates and contribution to climate change. Also, we've cooperated on a lot of capacity development, and in SASSCAL too, we also have big projects that are going to take place here in Namibia, particularly one on debushing and so many other things.
Okay. And no organization or no project or idea comes without its challenges. So just talk to us a little bit about, some of the challenges SASSCAL has faced over the past few years, and what you've done to face those challenges.
We have literally, I can say, very few challenges at SASSCAL, but one of the things that I think delays some of the implementation is just to learn to work in different countries, and especially when you have board members representing different countries, decisions sometimes is not made very quickly, but we need to understand and respect that each country has got their own way of working. But over some time, we have really learned to be patient and to make sure also that we focus more on the interconnectedness between the countries rather than looking at one country alone. So it's just a learning process. It's just something that we had to learn to balance out what is the SASSCAL's strategy forward and how to make sure that all countries are actually on board. Otherwise, we have had a lot of cooperation from funders, from the governments that also contribute to our operations. So all in all, I can say we have had a few challenges, but we have managed to go through.
And then, like I said earlier, it's been 10 years, right, of SASSCAL. A celebration of a decade is not an easy feat, or getting there rather is not an easy feat. But celebrating that, what does that mean moving forward for SASSCAL?
It was such a great day. Like when we started off, we didn't know it was going to be so successful. And we agreed we're making it short and sweet. And that's what we did. And we called all the people that took part information of SASSCAL from German, from the countries, to just give us messages of support. Those messages were so amazing. And it was just an indication that the next 10 years are even going to be better. Everybody appreciated what we have done. everybody committed to more pledges and commitment. And the staff members were really so happy. It was just like a moment of that we've been waiting for, especially coming from COVID. 2020, we worked from home. 2021 was another year, and it was just like a turning moment for everyone. So the future is really bright. We have managed to put together enough resources, but then we'll keep on getting more and more project to make sure that at least every other 3 years we are secured going forward. So it's great. It's great. And I'm really happy to be here this morning, and we would like to talk to young people to make sure that we share with them what we have done. And you also share with us what you actually want us to do.
Yeah.
I think that's what will make us more successful going forward.
Definitely.
Absolutely. Now, if you are just joining in, we are talking to Dr. Jane Olwoch, the CEO of the Southern African Science Service Center for Climate Change and Adaptive Land Management, that is SASSCAL. Now, Dr. Jane, another thing I want to ask you, and just, just thinking of your history and how you got to where you are, what would your advice be for, a little girl growing up somewhere in rural Africa who in this moment in time doesn't believe that she can achieve her goal of working in the environmental sciences, being a scientific researcher? What would your word of advice to that little girl be?
I would say find your passion. That's the most important thing. And I would say be positive. If you look at my LinkedIn and everything else, I say I'm optimistic. You must not think about the negative. Just push the boundaries, and must surround yourself with positive people too, because positive people give you positive energy.
True.
And that really keeps you moving forward. And you must work hard. You must work hard. You must be consistent. There's one thing I like talking about also. It's about be consistent despite the weather. Sometimes you wake up and you don't feel like you want to work, but you have to keep on. So I think it's about find your passion, be consistent, surround yourself with positive people, and be optimistic, and be positive, and respect yourself, and be confident. I think that's the most important thing. Don't let anyone put you down.
Yeah.
Because you are here to make a difference.
Yeah.
That's what I would tell the girl.
Definitely. That is a beautiful word of advice. And I think I'll carry that with myself as well. And then, we have a few minutes left with you. So I just want to shift a little bit from, the technical things and just get back to talking about you yourself, right? Now, we've talked a lot about your work and about your career, but you did mention that when you left Uganda, you left with your husband, right? Now, just tell us about that. Like, what was that move like for you? You were leaving everything that you knew, moving to a completely new place. I mean, it worked out because look at where you are now. You've built this entire thing. But just talk to us a little bit about, journeying from where you are from your home, to come to a place that was completely new to you.
Yeah. And of course, at that time, I remember very well, the only thing I knew about South Africa was a novel called The Mind Boy. And this Mind Boy had, it had one of the characters, and it's, we didn't know how to pronounce this word, but we called him Xuma, I think. And I remember this person was working in the mine, and sometimes was spitting blood, and he really had nobody to help him, and was being beaten. And it was just that impression about South Africa that we knew. And also in our passports at the time, it would say that you can visit all the countries except South Africa. Because remember, all the African countries were also fighting the apartheid system in their own way.
Yeah.
So it was this country that we had no idea what it was. But also at the same time in Uganda, when we finished, there was like some war, I think, that was coming around, and there was really no prospect of job or of anything. I remember me and my sister and a friend of ours, we just went to Kenya. We didn't know what was happening. So we just went in a bus and went to Kenya, but we had a relative there. Then after some time, I was the first to get a job because I think I had done science. I started teaching. And then afterwards, my boyfriend at the time came and joined us in Kenya. And that's how everything started. And we are in South Africa and I'm in Namibia.
Yeah.
But it's, I think because of this positivity, I cannot tell you that even when we were in refugees in Uganda, I don't remember, I've never been unhappy or like wondering what's going to happen. I just move.
What a lovely outlook.
Honestly, yeah.
Yes,
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it's been great. I'm very, very grateful, I think. And that's why I think I like people, because I believe that we need people. You cannot do it alone. People who support you, who talk to you, who... I always say that when you wake up in the morning and find someone on the street, just greet them. And you've made their day. Yeah, so that's my life in a nutshell.
That's your life in a nutshell. And then do you go home to Rwanda often?
Yes, so of course, after 1994, the war, my mom and my brothers and sisters went back to Rwanda.
Okay.
And I do go to Rwanda quite often. Yeah,
Okay.
and it's such a beautiful country. Our parents used to tell us that it's a country of milk and honey. So we're very excited to go back. But of course, when I went back for the first time after the war, it was so different because of the genocide, and the place was still really smelling, and it was different from what I knew. But now it's I think what we expected it to be. It's really a good country. It's developing. It's green. So.
It's very green. I can testify to that. I was in Kigali in 2019 for the Gender Summit, and I've never been to that part of Africa, so that was like my first time in that region of Africa, and I was amazed. It's beautiful.
It's so every time I go back, every other year, I find something different and something new. So I'm really excited.
Well, Dr. Jane, thank you so much for joining us this morning. It's been a pleasure having you in studio. And we definitely look forward to having you back as we see some of the projects and developments that are happening at SASSCAL.
Thank you so much. It's been such a great morning. Thank you for calling us and celebrating with us.